I'm going to make this one very blunt because when I was stuck along the recovery journey, I would have dreamt to have heard something as blunt as this that really gave me a wake-up call, okay? Now, today I went to a gym that was particularly for bodybuilding. Huge gym with tons of different equipment for every muscle group, right? Now, when I went to that, when I'm normally working out in my life day to day, right? I push myself to an extent where I think push myself really hard to failure and work out for sort of as long as I want to spend in there. Which what happens with the mind? The mind goes, okay, you've done the main things you needed to do. You can go now, right? Okay. Now, when I went to that gym today, because it had so many different machines, plus the environment in there is everyone is in amazing shape, most people. Instantly, when I was in that environment, I wanted to work out for 3 or 4 times longer than I usually work out, right? And I didn't get bored of it at all. And I wanted to try all the different machines. And I was left thinking, I wish I had more body parts to actually work out because otherwise, every single thing is aching right now. I wish there was something more I could do, right? Now, I'm painting this picture so that you can see now when I go into the narrative towards OCD, you'll see how important this is, right? So when I'm gone in there, what has motivated me? What has physically changed in my mind to make me want to work out so much more? And let me highlight, when I'm in the gym normally, my mind's like, yes, you're enjoying this, but now's enough. Let's get on and go and get on with something, right? Now, when I'm trying to think when I'm in the gym on my own, in a smaller gym, oh, push yourself more, do more, there's a mental barrier that comes down that goes, that's enough now, you've done enough, right? And you think, no, you should do more. And on those days, you push harder and harder, and you do. But it's like, why do you see world records broken at the Olympic Games? Why? The reason is because when you've got a whole crowd in there at the Olympics and your whole life is built up to that, the adrenaline, the environment, everything comes together and makes them push that bit more. And they can't just say to themselves in another environment, oh, just push yourself harder. For some reason, in the Olympic Games, when that whole atmosphere is there, they push a lot further. Now, I'm not an expert on Olympic game world records, and I'm also not an expert on getting the absolute max in fitness. But I can tell you that in all areas of life, when you put yourself in different environments, your perspectives shift. Now, how does that relate to OCD? I'll tell you. This environment that you're in is an environment focused on recovery. 99.9% of environments online aren't focused on recovery. Zero. They are focused on compulsions and reassurance and comfort seeking. And I used to go in 20 years ago, all the different anxiety and OCD forums, 15, 20 years ago, and I looked in those and it would just be like, hey, hun, you ride out the bad days. Are you on meds? And I used to think, fuck this. If that's going to be my life, how have I been dealt this card? That's what I used to think, right? Now, it's the same as anything in life. If you perhaps run a cake shop and you think everyone around you says, you're amazing at making cakes, right? You then go to a convention on making cakes, right? And you realize, shit, there's actually a lot of people here that are pretty good at making cakes, right? I've been in that environment many times in my life as I've tried to push myself out there to up the game of what I'm doing. Now in OCD, I'm constantly stress tested in that environment because it is on a world kind of stage of what we do, and any question, anything about OCD is being put to me 24 hours a day, to all the team, over and over and over, every hard question about OCD, right? My life's work is OCD, right? And so I am constantly stress tested and motivated to put out the best work I can for OCD all the time, all around the world, right? Now, when you're thinking about your journey right now, and you're thinking, let's think about this. How many people come in sign up to like a 10 session pack, and then they do that, and then they come in and then they do another pack, and then they come in and they go to lots of webinars and one-to-ones all in between, spaced out, because they start to feel better as they've got over the crisis period, if there's someone who was in a really bad way. And then they say to me 3 years down the line, I say, hey, you know, in the second book, and they go, I've never read the second book. I say, have you read the first book? Yeah, first 4 chapters. And I think, how does that happen? Because reading books is not motivating enough. People don't do it. So that's why we say all the time how important it is. How motivated do you think I was reading the books when I didn't even really know I was going to recover from reading that book? I could have been any other book. So you've got to think how lucky you are to be in this position today and to really harness that, okay? So many people, every day, Phil messages me and he says, okay, this person's gone in for a session with Sam, this person's gone in for a session with Nick, so that I can allocate everything and make sure that we're on top of all the different people from different countries and translators, and so that we know everything that's going on. And there's a lot of single sessions that come in. And on those single sessions, they come in and see me for one session, or come in and see one of the team for one session, and then I don't see them again, because they're looking for a tips, tricks, quick fix. It's like if I went to that gym today and I said, hey, I want to be in the best shape ever. Can I come in once and work out really hard? No, you can't, right? I stress this in posts all the time. I mention this repetitively all the time. I can't highlight it enough. If you look at OCD in general, how OCD is approached, and a lot of the OCD community by and large, what happens is people expect it to be comfy because they're stuck. And when they're anxious, they think, I know what I've got to do. I've got to be in a more comfy environment and then be more comfy and relaxed, and then I'll sort of relax my way out of it. That's not how it works. When I went to the gym today, I'm in an environment that's harder than the environment I'm normally in. So therefore, you're stressed more. And when you're stressed more, you grow more. Then the old environment of the small gym seems easy, right? And that, I'm using this as an analogy because it works pretty well, right? Like often I use the analogy of Bitcoin because it works pretty well for describing OCD too. You've probably seen my videos covering that and why that's a good analogy. Well, I'll break it down in a minute why that is, just because I've brought that up now. But with the gym, what you notice is, like a goldfish, if you go to a gym which has got some light weights and then you work through that rack of weights, you then feel very fit and strong. Then you go to a gym with the bigger weights and then you go back to the old one and you think, I can't believe I used to think this was a lot. And that's the same as recovery, because as you go through further and you do all the exposures, you do all the reading, you break down the beliefs, it's like, there's no OCD thought that could catch me, nothing of OCD. Any people, like, you know, when people come in at first, they're like, please don't say this thought or say that thought because I might get stuck. You can say any thought, anything to me, any situation, any documentary, any feared scenario, it doesn't matter, right? There is no chronic guilt, no chronic anxiety. I wake up out of bed, mind's blank. I go to bed, mind's blank. I go into difficult, hard situations in life, much harder than a lot of people go through in life. Well, not everyone, because everyone's got different situations in life, but because of the nature of what I do for work, I'm seeing very hard situations, and we're also running quite a large organization. So there's a lot of stress and different factors, right? But there is no chronic stress, anxiety, and guilt. I don't go home to bed and then have my heart palpitations all night thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen tomorrow? Gone. That is the past, okay? You have got to anchor into that motivated state of, I have an opportunity to recover today, which in the past they did not have. They did not have that opportunity. I didn't have the opportunity you have. By no means did I have that opportunity, right? And so then by working hard, putting myself through that difficult situation, I got out of that situation. Now you're in a situation which is still not easy because you've got OCD and there's challenges along the journey for sure, right? But you can come out of that so much more resilient. And anyone who comes in and sees me for one session, they're never going to learn that durability in one session. I know what's going to happen. I'm like, yeah, I know you think you've heard it now, and I know you think it all clicks and you're not too bad now, but trust me, I bet the house on the fact that in the next year you're going to have another crisis. And then you're going to say to yourself, but I've heard it all before. That's the biggest trap. I thought, I know what you're going to say, Rob. Big trap, right? Because it's like in your mind, you have hurdles that you're overcoming, but you also have sort of layers of motivation and layers of insight that kind of not click into place. I don't like that word with OCD because then people compulsively chase that. But those perspective shifts then lift you up and carry you along the way. Like some people come on a call and they literally pick up the phone like this. I'll say like, hi David, how you doing? And it's like, great Rob, really great to speak to you. Watched a lot of your videos on YouTube. I've read all the books. I'm so motivated. I really want to go for it. Now, he also can be detrimental to himself because he's overdoing it, right? So we have to get a balance there. But usually that character really wants to go for it and is treating it as a learning process and wants to really change his life, learning, empowering himself, changing perspectives so he's no longer on the internal back foot. Now, if you approach life like this, right, your life changes completely. I remember once I went on holiday with a friend of mine. We went to New York and a couple of years ago, and I sat down next to him in a restaurant, right? And he had a laptop and I had a laptop. He ran a business and I was working with what I do with OCD recovery. And he was watching me and he said, the amount you work, it's non-stop. He says, it's like a big perspective shift for me, right? And he said, you do a lot, right? And I thought, yeah, but that's only because you're not around people like me, yeah? If you go into an entrepreneurial space and you're around a lot of people that are reasonably high in their field, right? They're gonna be those kind of personalities. But if you went to a retirement home and decided you were gonna start a business working on a laptop using the Wi-Fi in a retirement home, everyone around you would think, God, you're working very fast when you're sending one email a day because they're not in that frame of mind at that age or in their mindset there, right? So what you do is you have big perspective shifts and it changes your whole life. And it's different for everyone. I remember there's been many times in my life where I've seen a photo of myself from a certain angle or something. Not really now because I don't really give a shit about that, so it wouldn't create that motivational spark in the same way. But I used to see a picture and then I'd think to myself, do you know what, you need to get into working out. And then I got into the habit. At first it was negative because of a BDD type situation, right? But then it became a really positive thing in the right direction because of a wake-up call I saw in that moment. If you surround yourself by people that complain and moan all the time, you think, I used to have, because I'm a sort of high energy problem solver, a sort of seizing life type personality, I attract lots of people that are complaining, wanting things, dramas, because I'm a sort of stable base, right? So I've been very strict with that in my life and cut that out. Now, that's not cutting it out like on social media where you hear people cutting out everyone left, right and center because where they're sort of doing it in a compulsive way. But I've done it so that my life is better and it's not got things that pull me down. The people you're around most are going to influence your life. So I'm always trying to put myself around people that are lifting me up and moving me in the right direction. Now, you're not going to always have that. You're not always going to have those situations. You're going to have family members, all kinds of different things that are going to make things difficult, right? And you can't just cut everyone off. But at the same time, you've got to think, where do you want to get to? What are you trying to do? And with OCD recovery, you want to be around people who are recovering. You want to be around people that are putting in the work. Often I see in these groups somebody who's not doing the work, then becoming friends with someone else who's not doing the work, and then their excuses then make sense to each other, and so then they start to sort of both fall behind with things. You don't want to do that. If you're in a skiing class and you're struggling, you're at the back, you want to become friends with the person who's doing really well. They're going to teach you everything. What happens if you start becoming friends with the person who's also falling over in the worst? You both fall over in the worst, then you stick together, then you start hating skiing together, then you start going off on a different, slower and getting lost and all sorts of things. Focus on looking at people that you want to be like, looking at what you're trying to get to, and then putting that into action. I really can't stress that enough. Now, I was going to say an analogy about Bitcoin, and it actually ties in well here, is the fact that is this. People who invest in Bitcoin have to get used to every single person saying to them, oh, it's a scam, it's useless all day. When the person isn't really usually telling the other person anything, they've just got to listen to that negativity all the time. And every time it goes down, everyone says, I told you so. And every time it goes up, everyone shuts up, right? And it's up and down, up and down, and up and down like that, right? And then over time, it usually goes up, right? If you're someone who's investing in Bitcoin, you've got to get used to everyone wanting you not to do well. You've got to get used to everyone saying you've made a mistake, right? I can think of countless times in my life where lots of people wanted me to fail. Lots of people criticized me all the time. It got to a point where I didn't even want to bother even explaining my ideas, explaining anything, because everyone could criticize things. And I knew that the level of thinking that they would need to understand the thing, I couldn't teach them. And they also want to control power in the argument, so they won't want to give me the benefit of trying to understand what I'm saying, right? Imagine, for example, the life of any people in the world that try and do something different. Any big inventors or anything get criticism all day long, all day long, all day long. Yeah? As did Albert Ellis, because obviously he's saying, hey, Sigmund Freud's approach ain't going to work for OCD, here's why. And then people are like, oh shit, we've been doing that all our life. Oh my God, what? We have to get, what do you think it's like when you change anything in life, right? You change anything in life, it's criticism. When antibiotics first came out, right, and penicillin was invented, you have a look at how long it took till penicillin started to become mainstream. People criticized it even though it was the most obvious game changer in health ever. Criticized it, oh no, that needs a lot more checking out. Oh, it's overhyped. Fucking guy was changing the world in the biggest way at that time, right? Think about that, yeah? Fleming didn't just think, oh, I'll give up, oh, forget antibiotics, I'm just going to go and sit in my room. You have got to put yourself in situations that are going to make you grow. If you don't grow, you stay same. Humans like same. If you ask the average person what they want, they'll say, all I want is my mortgage paid off, I want to be with my partner, I want to eat food, I want to raise a family, I want 1-2 holidays a year, and that's me done. Nothing wrong with that, because there is so many hard challenges to get there. But there is more in life, and when you open people's eyes to it and they see it, they realize there's more, right? And that is so key. And that doesn't mean more in terms of people in today's hustle culture world of people like, oh yes, I want to have a Ferrari. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking primarily about more in life, like more from relationships, more from creative interests like painting a picture, having time to paint a picture, get into sculpture, get into gardening, get into playing music, traveling, going to see countries that other people don't go to, setting up your life so you can do that more, right? All the time, you have to think, how do you change things into the uncomfortable? In a couple of weeks, I'm going to China. Now, that's been a sort of top of my list to go and get done for a while, but it doesn't, because every time, what do you think happens when you say to people, I think I'm going to China next month? Why are you going there? Isn't there somewhere else you'd like to go to? Oh, it's a long way. Oh my God, the time zone. What are you doing? Have you planned it all? No, I don't plan any of it. I literally just go. I literally say, right, here's where I'm going in China. I'm going to stay in this hotel. I'm going to go, and I just go on my own and go, and then get moving from that position, right? Because that just gets it done. It cuts out all the noise, right? Now, why am I going there? Well, I'm going there for one specific reason. OCD, when I started the work we do with OCD recovery, and now lucky I have this team here doing so much work today on spreading awareness of OCD around the world, which is making a huge difference, right? Before, when I was doing this on my own, I could only reach so many people and getting the word out about recovery and making significant change there. Now I've got a team who are literally focused like hell on making videos and getting all the content out all the time, right? They do that day in, day out, all day. They are thinking of ideas to get content out for OCD to change things in a big way. Now, in America and the UK, before I'd like to think our work came out, it was pretty bleak for OCD because there wasn't much. If you went on YouTube, it was mainly all thoughts of thought stuff, as you guys know. So now we've really started to try and change that. We changed that, and we've got a lot of content out, and with all the Facebook group and all the sessions we've done through all the different people we've seen over the years, a large number of people can now recover from OCD by learning to see why they're getting themselves stuck, and through acceptance and through stopping catastrophizing, able to get themselves back on their feet, right? Now, in China, for example, you've also got a billion people that a lot of them do not speak English, and there's barely any hope at all for OCD. That is one of the countries that has got a problem with OCD. Obviously, we work with a lot of countries, and we have translators for most countries. And I think we've worked with nearly every country in the world, including military bases in the sea regularly, where people have OCD, and places that are very remote with populations of like 20,000. But China is going to be a difficult one for me. So we've been working with people in China in OCD, and how they're going to help us to get into social media in China, which is obviously very different, and people over in the UK and America don't understand how the social media is in China. And that's what we're going to be doing. And we're going to be doing the same as what we've done for the UK and US, but for China. And I'm going to be going there to familiarize myself with the culture, and also start making videos in China, as well as in other locations around China, which will be beneficial for starting this journey. And it's going to be a mammoth task. It's going to be a lot of work. It hasn't been done before. Every time it's been done has been done very poorly, with primarily thoughts of thought stuff. It's time to make a change. Next big project for us. We've got a lot of that going on in other countries as well. We're currently doing a lot of work, and we have been in the last year, with Arabic OCD content. And there's a lot more of that to come too. But Chinese is one of the next big projects. And so you will be seeing me in Hong Kong, and to start the journey, and then going off into other parts of China to start this OCD journey. And it will be very interesting. And I have no idea what it's going to be along the path, as I had no idea what was going to be along the path when I started OCD recovery. I didn't think, when I started, I knew where it would sort of end up over time if I could manage to get things to work, but I didn't expect such a great friendly community with all the team and all the people in all these groups, and how that's all come together, and how it's got this humorous get yourself out of the dark and put recovery on the map and get your feet back on the ground, and this just general community feeling which became part of the journey, and it's amazing to see every day. And now I've got to do the same in China, and it's a whole new territory, and it's a whole new thing. And I will be keeping you updated on how that goes along the way.